Good morning, everybody. Hope everyone's doing wonderfully well as we get started on this wonderful Wednesday morning, East Coast time. Some of you guys tuning in from all over the world, nighttime, daytime, middle of the day, middle of the night, wherever you may be. Welcome, guys. It is always a pleasure to come to you with the game plan. All right. So, what I want to talk about today, we got to get into the CPI data. The CPI data is the major factor of the day. It's driving price action this morning. The S&P futures initially popped sharply to the upside. We saw Bitcoin even pop a little bit, although hasn't taken out yesterday's highs yet. We're going to discuss that, as well as gold's price action here in the near term, oil, natural gas, you name it. We're going to cover it today. But first, let's get into the CPI data. All right. Take a look at the CPI data. What we basically see here is that consumer prices climbed 5% at an annual 5% pace in March. What does that mean? Well, that was actually a little bit better than expected. All right. So that's a little bit better. All right. The consumer price index increased 0.1% in March, according to the Labor Department, compared to 0.4% in February. All right. So again, what that's telling us is that inflation is slowing. The only negative to this report today, folks, was if you strip out food and energy, inflation actually increased. All right. It upticked. An annual growth rate pace ticked up from 5.5% to just 5.6%. So there was one little negative in that report that has me on slight amount of alert today. And again, here you have the 5.6% right here, which is where the number came in. And again, the market was expecting a 5.5% clip on inflation. Now, again, overall, I think this report was a slight positive. We are seeing the S&P futures rally to the upside. But for the most part, really what we want to do is we want to go into the charts and see what the charts are telling us. So right off the bat, take a look at this, guys. We see that yields are starting to come in just a little bit. Not a lot, but just a little bit. Now, I will be honest with you guys. I did pull the trigger on a short when we got this number and it popped dramatically to the upside. I shorted some QQQ as well as some SPY. Now, again, it's an intraday trade. I'm not necessarily looking to hold for a long period of time, but the concept here is this. If we bring up the Qs chart, and I want to go to the intraday chart, let's take a look at this real-time data. All right, initially, look at this pop to the upside. All right, I got my short off at 319.13. So I got my short off right here. I'm already in the money a little bit on that trade, according to my P&L, up about $11,000 and change. So a little bit of a gain thus far. We'll see how that plays. I'm going to look for more of it. I expect us to generally pull back down here, and I'm going to explain exactly why. So why the heck would I expect CPI to actually bring the markets back in check a little bit? Number one, we have PPI tomorrow. All right, so the producer price index is another inflation gauge tomorrow. Number two, Friday, we have JP Morgan, Citigroup, and Wells Fargo reporting earnings. Next week, a parade of tech earnings are going to start with Netflix next week. So again, if we look at Netflix chart, by the way, Netflix up pre-market here. And again, that stock on the daily chart has rallied off of this support. Again, could go up on earnings, but also is going to be some factors that could bring it in. That's going to make investors nervous. So basically, to summarize here, I am looking to short into this rally. Okay, so essentially this bounce is a great bounce pre-market, but looking to short, I'll look to pick up some individual swing trade shorts on the back of this. I know that's counterintuitive to a lot of you guys. So many people out there are hook, line, and sinker, bull market back in crypto, bull market back in stocks, bull market back every which way. I'm here to bring some sanity to the otherwise insane world and tell you that that is not the case. It's not the case because of this mere fact. All right, the bottom line is we already know earnings are going to drop. If you look at the valuations on a Microsoft, on an Apple, they are trading at ridiculous valuations. Those two stocks alone make up a huge chunk of the S&P 500. That's going to bring valuations down. We already heard last month. In fact, we just had a downgrade on Microsoft. I believe it was yesterday, based on their Azure growth. All right. So again, these things like that are going to bring the market back in. In addition, I still have it priced in that we're going to see a second half recession. So looking for a second half recession. All right, now I'm going to get into Bitcoin. I know that's the big question of the day. That's what everyone is really excited about. All right, so I'm going to go right to that. Let's take a look at Bitcoin and look at this, guys. If you were here last week, we talked about this channel, this consolidation range. Where did I say Bitcoin could go? I said it could go to 30,500. What was the high yesterday? 30,500 and change. What are we doing today? We're holding basically flat on Bitcoin. All right, you guys know, if you know, I shorted some Bitcoin via buying BITI yesterday, nibbled a little bit on that, so far up on that trade. We're going to watch to see. This, to me, is the groundbreaking level. All right, so what I mean by groundbreaking level, and this is a very important concept, groundbreaking level is this is the Great Wall of China. This is the brick wall that has, that's 10 feet wide, whatever you want to call it. This level is a psychological major level. In addition, I saw someone mentioning it in the comments as well, is that keep in mind, the rally on Bitcoin has been on light volume lately. That's a concern. What that tells me is it's not big money buying. Not big money buying. You have to be aware of that. And that's something that, again, gets my attention as well. So, again, we should know over the next few days, maybe over the next 5 to 7 days, do we get above this level? Do we hold? In that case, then the low is in. All right. Now, it doesn't mean I'm going to go bullish and buy Bitcoin. That's ridiculous. You would never buy and chase a move like this. What it means is if you get a confirmed bottom in on Bitcoin at 15,700, then on pullbacks, you start to buy more aggressively. At supports, you buy more aggressively. And that's the technique that, again, has made me the millions of dollars that I have made and I continue to make on a monthly, yearly basis in these markets, whether it's crypto, whether it's stocks, whether it's commodities. All right. Now, last week, we also talked about BOIL or natural gas. I told you guys to prepare for a bounce on natural gas, guys, and take a look. We've already seen a nice move up here off of the lows. Nice little pop a couple days ago, a small move yesterday. Today, we're pulling back, but watch this level really closely. Look at this key level. So on this natural gas chart on TradingView, what I want you to watch is the $2.25 level. If we hold 225 on a closing basis, that remains very bullish for natural gas. If it were to get back below that, then you're more in a gray area. A gray area is essentially the midpoint of bullish and bearish, which is neutral. You want to see, does it have to trade back down to the lows, which would then become support, or can it recapture this trend line and start to break to the upside there? Okay. All right. So that's very, very important to see right there. And again, we'll continue to watch and see where that goes out. Okay. All right, so a couple things to go over here as we go through the charts. I want to go through a couple other big names out there. By the way, just scanning through my spider short that I have here a little bit as well. Now in the money on that. Good to see that move. And again, I tried to get some short on NVIDIA on that pop as well this morning above 275, but I did not get filled fully on that position. So lots of good trading stuff going on here, guys. And again, time to close out some good profits on that little fade. And again, this is very kind of uncommon to a lot of you guys. And I'm going to bring up the QQQ chart. All right. So a lot of you guys probably saw that CPI number and you listened to CNBC and you're like, oh, it's a better than expected number. Holy cow. This is going to be the greatest thing for the markets. And then all of a sudden markets are starting to fade here. Wait a minute. What's going on? I thought it was a good number. Remember, guys, you have so many things coming up over the next few days and next few weeks. Big money is not going to buy heavily into this number, especially when we've seen such a dramatic rise in the Qs. The NASDAQ 100 has gone from 285 to a recent high of 321. It's holding pre-market here, trading. What is it trading at? Let me see right here. 318 and change, or and even down to the 317s now, looks like, right in that vicinity. So again, yeah, 318.21 right now, pulling back just a little bit. Now it's still green on the day, but the question is, can it hold the green? Can it hold the green or not? Again, I am short the Qs. I'm short the S&P. Again, I got a tiny bit of my position short on NVIDIA there, only when it peaked above 275. Again, I like that even as a swing trade on the short side as well. All right, we're going to go into some of the metals here. We got to take a look. Well, let's go to the dollar first. The dollar, guys. So this is why the markets rallied, and now this is why the markets are giving it back. So number one, if we look at the intraday chart, look at this. All right, look at the drop in the dollar on the intraday 10-minute chart when that data came out. All right, why did it come? Why did the dollar drop? Well, the concept here is super simple. If inflation is dropping, then it means the Fed has to hike less. That means it potentially can even cut rates in the future. That's weak for the US dollar. Okay? Okay? So again, that's the key on why it dropped. Now, why is it rallying up? Now, notice that the markets rallied when the dollar dropped, and now the markets are pulling back a little bit when the dollar's rallying. So it's the dollar's getting a bounce. Number one, it was a big sell, so you generally get a technical bounce. Number two, just like I said, remember, if you look behind the curtains, there, the CPI data actually upticked if you strip out core stuff, which is food and energy. So there's still some little signs of kind of higher inflation in the system when you remove that food and energy from the calculation. All right, so again, how does this go? We're going to find out, but if the dollar continues to rally, markets should continue to come in, and we'll watch and see how that plays. All right, let's go down to gold, and we're going to go to silver, guys, because silver had a crazy move over the night period here. And by the way, what a pop initially on this gold chart. Holy cow, but look at gold starting to come back in here, guys. Big drop on gold here. And again, this is the 10-minute chart. In fact, man, I was actually, let me go to silver real quick, guys. Hang on one second. Yeah, silver, huge pop too. Actually traded just up into this range where it was overnight, actually pierced those levels. I actually want to short some silver here. Bear with me, guys. All right, I'm going to actually pull the trigger on a trade here. Yes, you guys are viewing it live as I'm doing it. Okay. All right, let's see what we got here. And again, guys, I am shorting a little silver up here. All right, there we go. Just shorted a little SLV right there, so we'll see how that goes. And again, overall, if it goes back up, I'll add to the position I did. What the equivalent would be of about a 1/5 position for what I would look to accumulate. So again, in that on a little bit of the short side. Again, if we look at the daily silver chart, look at this insane move. Look at that move on silver. To me, this is a blow off top today. I want to short into it. You also have a lot of resistance coming into play here. Look at the silver chart here. If we put a trend line right here, look at how close we are to major resistance. You're coming right in there. You have more major resistance just above right here. Now, it doesn't mean I don't like silver on the longer term, right? I love silver on the longer term. I love gold longer term. But when we look at these commodities, they have gone parabolic. Gold a little bit, not as much in the recent days, of course, but silver's move is parabolic, and I want to pull the trigger. Now, why would silver pull back and maybe gold hold up better? The answer is very simple on this. All right, gold goes up when fear is there. Even in a recession, gold can go up. If we start to get recessionary numbers, if earnings coming out over the next month show us that a lot of these companies, and by the way, Warren Buffett was just on CNBC, and he said one of his retailers, their year-over-year sales in the last month were down 22% from a year ago sales. So we know that the companies out there, we know from the warning that was basically the downgrade for Microsoft. We heard from Apple, well, analysts on Apple recently saying that that people aren't going to be upgrading their phone. It tells me that a recession is coming. To bring it full circle around to silver, what do we know? We know that silver is also an industrial metal. Silver, again, in general, that will go down if we go into a recession, even if you have the offsetting of fear and panic. All right, so that gives us a little insight on the silver trade here as we continue through. I'm just going back to silver to real touchy base here. And again, so don't be surprised if silver goes a little higher here. I still have it priced in, maybe getting as high as around the $25, $26 level. But again, that's something to definitely keep an eye on there. All right, let's go check in on Bitcoin here. Let's see what Bitcoin's doing. Bitcoin, again, pulling back off of the initial pop on it. Take a look at the intraday chart. And here was your high from yesterday right here. And there's your high from today. Doesn't mean we won't take out that high. But remember, this is into a major level of resistance. All right, guys, I'm going to do a few questions here now that we've gotten through the metals, we've gotten through the dollar, we've gotten through yields, we've gotten through the CPI data, we've gotten through Bitcoin. Some of you guys asking, is it still priced in that Bitcoin could still go down to the 12 to 13,000 target, maybe even 9,000? The answer is, as long as we don't confirm and hold above 30,000, this 30,500 level right in this vicinity, the answer is yes. So again, that is still on the table. If we were to confirm and stay above there, then you have a different scenario where likely the 15.7 level, 15.6 level is a low pivot on the charts. All right. Let's take a look at oil here. All right, let's see what we got on the oil chart. And again, oil has made quite a substantial move up here on the intraday. Notice again, what type of flag pattern is this? If you know your flags, you know that this was a bull flag. You had a big run up, then you have consolidation. Consolidation, let me explain this to you guys for those of you that are newbies here. When you have consolidation, think about it like this. You just ran a marathon from this point here all the way up to this point. That was a long marathon. You're exhausted. Could you go run another marathon? Probably not right away. It's the same concept why I'm intrigued by a short on the silver chart, because it's just run a marathon. In the very least, it needs to consolidate. Now, what oil did here after the marathon, it said, you know what? I'm going to run another marathon, but I need to chill out. I need to rejuvenate. I need to eat. I need to drink water. I need to kind of revitalize my body before I can run. And that's what it did over the last few days. Now it enables it to go up. The only negative here on oil, just to be clear, is that you have resistance right here, which you're hitting now. And then even if you get through, you have more resistance coming up right here. And again, if I zoom out, you can see this level. So believe it or not, if we get one more push in oil, I probably will look to short oil, probably north of $85 a barrel. If you look at why 85, why am I choosing 85? Not only is this pivot high right around 85 here, but look at all this sideways chop. Sideways chop means there's a ton of people that bought and there's a ton of people that sold. That's what creates sideways chop, buyers and sellers butting heads. Okay. Now, the key to that is understanding that when people butt heads, there's a bunch of new buyers that now have been out of the money since this period of sideways chop. When price gets back into it psychologically, a lot of them will say, okay, I'm now back to my break even on the trade. Therefore, I'm going to unload. That's what creates resistance. By the way, same thought process of why this level on Bitcoin is such a major technical level. And again, it's not to say that levels can't be broken. Levels eventually do get broken. The question is, do we have a pullback drop first off of this level here? And that's something I will be scanning and watching through here. All right. I see a bunch of people on the XRP train. I know we got Max RP over there. he's an awesome employee here. He's rocking the XRP as well. He loves it. So shout out to Max there. But bottom line is here, guys, XRP to me, short-term resistance, and I think he would agree with me, short-term resistance was hit around 55 cents, 56 cents. You had that pivot top going back to September of 2022. It's pulled back. The only thing I have a little concern about is you're making a little bit of a bearish flag consolidation pattern over the last week or two. So again, doesn't mean there's a lot of downside. There's a lot of support around 47 cents, but it could have a little bit of a dip here, which also makes sense if we did see a pullback in some of these cryptos like a Bitcoin, Ethereum, then you could also see that as a possibility. Let's look at Ethereum. Ethereum, again, continues to struggle here. Same thing. Even though Bitcoin recently took out its highs, Ethereum has not. So it is a little bit under pressure. Remember, you do have that fork. I think it's called the Shanghai fork coming up, and that could be creating a little bit of stress on some of those players out there unwilling to commit ahead of that fork in case. And this, by the way, this happens a lot with forks, is that people are nervous that something could go wrong, and so they usually step back. So you're going to lose a few buyers going into that event, which could explain why Ethereum is struggling just a little bit. All right. TLT is basically just an inverse play here. If you look at my TLT, so TLT goes goes generally to the downside when yields go up and vice versa. So again, what we see here is actually bullish consolidation on TLT. What this tells me is yields eventually are going to go lower. So eventually this breaks out to the upside out of this channel here, classic bull flag channel. I don't know when it will happen, but what does this tell us? If yields are going to go down, what does it tell us? It tells us that we're likely headed into a recession. It tells us that the market is telling us that, you know, smart money, essentially, the bond market is telling us that we are going into a recession at some point. I can take a look at Solana real quick here. I see a couple people asking for Solana. Solana did have a breakout above this wedge pattern. I did talk about that in my verified investing crypto analysis just last night. The question here is, how high does it have? Short-term resistance right around 24 where it is, and then you have a lot of resistance coming up. So if you're someone who's in Solana, watch this level. This is going to be your mega level right here. See these pivot tops? That's right around $26.70. That is going to be a major, major level. All right. Now, if we look at Matic, and again, these are all ones I cover in my daily videos that I post on Verified Investing Crypto, but Matic is not looking good, guys. All right, I don't know what's going on here, but the mere fact that it hasn't been able to get a bid when we've seen a lot, even Solana's gotten a bid now, that's problematic. It's just holding on to this trend line. If it breaks, there's not a lot of downside before it hits support, but that would be someone there as well. All right, let me see what else we have here. Bona saying, can Sol reach the all-time highs? To be honest, I don't know. I mean, in years, yes, that's always a possibility, assuming it survives. But again, that's so far out. My analysis is not going to be accurate that far out. Yeah, EWZ is the Brazilian ETF. You guys know if you followed me for anything more than a few months, I've been very high on the longer term projections for the Brazilian market. And again, the reason is you have this beautiful long wedge pattern that to me eventually breaks out. This is one of my favorite long term trades. I think again, eventually you see a big breakout on this. I think money from the U.S. will ultimately go out and kind of find its way out there into from the U.S. markets into the foreign markets. As again, I think that we see things not look as rosy in the U.S. for a long period of time. Remember, I still have it priced in that we're not going to hit new all-time highs in the U.S. stock market for quite some time. All right, Tesla, guys. Tesla here did break this little bit of a trend line here, small wedge pattern. So it is in warning territory. It could easily collapse. The only positive would be if it recaptures 205. If you get back above 205, that would be a good positive there. All right, guys, listen, I've got to get back on my live trading room. We're going to be trading live at inthemoneystocks.com. I'll be covering a lot of these. We'll be doing day trades. We'll be continuing to knock it out of the park. Thank you for coming as always. Remember, these start daily, I believe, on the 24th? 24th. Yes, on the 24th, I will be starting to do game plans daily mornings, every morning, 9 a.m. Please be there. Spread the word. Follow, like, do all that fun stuff. Love you all from the bottom of my heart. You guys take care.